So we
All right,
talk
what do you
about
got?
tech stack all the time. What is a tech stack?
Yeah. So more and more technology is central to our businesses, and it's only going to continue to grow. But as you purchase more and more software and you have all of these accounts and logins and monthly payments and all that kind of stuff, that's your tech stack. It's that portfolio of softwares, the suite of softwares that your company uses to operate your business. And there's so many, but that's essentially what your tech stack is. It's all of your softwares, right? Just like
Okay.
your toolbox, right? It's you got to have a truck with materials on it, with tools to get the job done. What is in that toolbox? Well, it's your digital toolbox essentially for your business.
I would suspect that a contractor, most contractors I know anyway, at least in the beginning and through the middle age of their company, have a better idea what their toolbox includes than they do with their tech stack, right? So,
Yeah, yeah,
and it can be so confusing, or at least to somebody like me. Um, you go into their tech stacks for project management. There's bookkeeping tech stacks. There are all
mhm,
kinds of ancillary tech stacks like I'm a store. This is my project manager, but I'm going to store my pictures in Company Cam, which is a different. What does a typical contractor's tech stack include? If
yeah.
there is,
So real quick, I mean, I'll just go on a limb and say 99% of contractors, even if, I mean, you're using pen and paper most of the time, you probably have a tech stack. It's not whether you're intentional about it or not, you've got a tech stack. Now, let's just you should probably only have like one tech stack. I guess you could, organize it by department and say this department uses this tech stack and whatever. But reality is you have one tech stack and you have softwares inside of those tech stacks, right? Or inside of your tech stack. Saying the word tech stack a lot today. This will be fun. So, uh, for most contractors, at a very minimum level, you're going to have your workspace account, which is either going to be Outlook 365, Microsoft 365 for Outlook, or Google Workspace for Gmail. So if you have that software, if you have an email, even if you're not even paying for it and you're just using Gmail and using the free version, you've got a tech stack, right? It's
well,
made up of
you
just
you
one
used
software.
the word. You said workspace. What
Mhm.
do you mean? What are you talking about?
Well, essentially, it used to be that, and Martin, you probably know these times better than me, but if you were going to be an employee at a company, you had to have a desk that you could, and a chair that you could sit at and do your work. It was your workspace.
Okay.
Well, essentially now for employees, the desk isn't as much of a requirement as you got to have an email and you got to have a calendar so you can be on invitations. You've got to have access to your files in something like Drive or um, shared SharePoint, I believe is
Yeah.
the Outlook
Dropbox
one,
or
or
yeah.
Dropbox, right? So that's essentially your workspace, right? You've got to have
Okay.
those things to be able to do your job,
Okay.
right? So that's why it's called a workspace. But there's
That
other
does
softwares
not
and a lot of
that would you throw Asana and ClickUp and those kind of things in workspace?
no, I would not.
Good.
Although that may be
Okay.
the tool that a lot of people use more frequently than their, email or Google Drive, whatever. If they're in it every single day and doing their work in there, I still wouldn't call that your workspace. So,
Okay. I'm
uh,
I'm glad you don't. This makes sense.
yeah,
Workspace, that's the tools I used to have. It's my pencil and my notebook and
exactly.
my
And it's
place to
it's
write stuff down.
it, you know, it's really either going to be Microsoft or Google at this point. I'm sure that there's some people out there that can use Apple iCloud emails and pages for their documents and stuff like that. But for the most part, it's gonna, especially for contractors, it's either gonna be Outlook or Gmail. I'm a proponent of Gmail personally. I think it integrates better with other tools. I think it's much easier to set up and to navigate. But a lot of organizations use Outlook, and that's totally fine. It's just a little bit. There are a lot better security features on Outlook, but for most contractors, they don't need that level of security. There's plenty of security on Google. Um, so that's probably the foundational software that most contractors are gonna have, but if you're listening to this episode and you're with our audience, typically, I would say most of our audience understands technology a little bit better because we talk about it so much. So, here's you're gonna have something for project management, you're gonna have something for field management, depending on what type of contract you are, you're gonna have something for, your CRM, you're gonna have probably some sort of sales software that does estimating, bidding, contracts, proposals, whatever it is. Um, yeah, you're gonna have a variety of softwares that you use inside your business, and we'll dive into those um, in detail in a little bit, but I would say for most contractors, what it looks like is they hear about, a software from someone in the industry, from a podcast, from an article they read, from a Google search they did, and it promises the world to them, and so they sign up, and then they struggle to actually use the software because they haven't, you know, had a strategy for it, they haven't implemented it properly, they haven't done training with their team, so no one's using it, and so then they're paying this monthly subscription or annual subscription, and it just kinda sits there. And so most tech stacks for contractors, I would say there's probably 2 or 3 softwares that they really use, and they're probably not using them to their best ability. And then there's also a ton of other softwares that are, in the background, whether they're free accounts or paid accounts that are a part of the tech stack, but not really used. And so that's really where the problem is that you know, there's not an organized, concerted, intentional effort to organize the tech stack and to actually make sure that it's working for them.
In kind of a stepping back,
Yeah.
things I wrote down for what you're talking about. There's workspace, project management, CRM,
Yeah.
sales and estimating. I know a lot of these things are all jumbled together in certain softwares.
Mhm.
Bookkeeping software, um, marketing software.
Yeah.
Did I miss any categories? Where do
Yeah,
you
well,
put Asana? Uh, kind of
yeah.
a group.
Yeah, so Asana, Monday, ClickUp, Todoist, there's so many different ones out there. That those all will fall under project management.